Hi, I'm Laura Goodman, and I'm the president of PFLAG Rockland, and I'm so excited to be here today. I just want to tell you a little bit about PFLAG Rockland and my journey with PFLAG Rockland. I have two daughters. I have a 23-year-old cisgender daughter named Mia and a 20-year-old transgender daughter named Jade. About 5 years ago, when my daughter Jade first began her transition, I was terrified. I didn't know where to turn. So I joined PFLAG Rockland, and the minute I walked into the room, I absolutely knew that that was where I needed to be. I, got a lot of support, and I found that there were people like me, and I knew that things were going to be okay. So 5 years later, I'm so fortunate that I get to help facilitate groups twice a month for parents who are going through what I went through and what I'm still going through with my daughter, and I get to accompany them on their journey and their children on their journey. And I just feel so lucky. I had no idea that when my daughter started her journey 5 years ago, that her being transgender would end up being such an incredible gift, and that I would get so many gifts along the way. PFLAG Rockland being one of the many gifts. One of my other gifts that I'd like to introduce is Mimi Goodman, who is the vice president of PFLAG Rockland.
Well, thank you, because you're one of my gifts as well. So I am Mimi Goodman, and although it may seem as if we're related, and we are the PFLAG dynasty, we actually are not related, but I always say we're related in the fact that we are both committed to the work that we do, and we found a kindred soul in PFLAG. So I'm just going to tell you very briefly what brought me to PFLAG 25 years ago is that my first, actually not my first child, my second child came out as a lesbian, and then later came out as non-binary. But there was no such term as non-binary when they first came out. And I think it's important to know that if you don't have a word for something and you don't have the language, you actually, you don't in a way know who you are. You can't identify. So it's really wonderful that the language is changing, and we now have that. My other child, my adult child, is my gay son. He lives in London. He lives with his partner of 22 years, who is also now became his husband of 6 years. So I just want to say that we are just always thrilled with these artist programs, because we see that there's just such a beautiful natural connection between PFLAG and the LGBTQ plus community and the artist community. And I think part of that connection is that the young people that we've worked with, they are people who, through the fact that they stretch our boundaries, they stretch people to understand the different definitions of gender and sexual orientation, and they color our world in the most beautiful way. I think the LGBTQ plus people, through their clothing, their makeup, their dance, they just infuse the world with a certain kind of color. And we say that the artists do the same thing. The artists have their unique way of seeing the world and making us see it a little bit differently, maybe making us see a landscape a little bit differently, or a scene. So that's where we think that there's just a beautiful connection. So we're very, very happy always to have a wonderful artist on. So I almost forgot to do a very, very important thing. And that is, we have to thank the wonderful Lisa D'Amico, who is on our board, and yes, and who became our friend and is a beautiful artist. And Lisa is the one who really has been able to merge these two worlds and make it possible for us to have these events. She's been the driving force behind this wonderful connection. So I thank you. A shout out and a thank you to Lisa D'Amico. All right, and Laura, now I'm going to turn a question over to you for our artist.
Thank you, Mimi. And I just want to add, one of the things that continues to amaze me is whenever Lisa calls for artists to support PFLAG Rockland, I'm amazed by how many she gets. When you're the parent of a child who's in the LGBTQ community, sometimes you feel very alone, especially now in the world that we're living in. You feel like there's nobody out there. And it's a scary, scary time. But Lisa says, artists, do you want to help out PFLAG Rockland? And there are so many of them that want to support our kids. That amazes me every time. So I'm so grateful that we have opportunities to work with artists. And right now is a very special time. We are going to interview Enrique Cirino, who is a very talented multimedia artist. And we got to talk to him a few minutes before we started, and I know we're going to have a great time. So our first question is how does your identity as a member of the LGBTQ plus community inform your art?
Well, hi everybody. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. And well, I'm glad that you're here and want to listen what I have to say. About that question is like how do I feel as a gay male? Like how does that works on my art? What's the message that I have? Like I think it's pretty much when I started, it was everything. It was the concept. I want to make that concept happen. I'm a very proud gay man. I love being a gay man. And I'm not that sassy, but I love being sassy on my artwork. So I think my artwork is super sassy, super gay sassy. And I use a lot of camp. Camp is it's a huge part of my inspiration. And I don't think I was able to understand camp if I wasn't a member of the LGBT or part of the LGBTQ plus community. So I think I have a lot to see. And also I make part of my art is making things that are fun and beautiful, but also there's a part of my art that I like to have that I wanted to have a message, and I wanted to have a stamp, because art is always been a vehicle, a language of protest or how history is happening. So we are part, like we as a community of artists in a global, like we're part of a movement of an art movement. So I also use my art to reflect what's happening on socially on my community right now. So
Wow.
it's like I try to use my art for that. So I think it's a very influential part of me, being part of the LGBTQ plus community.
So let me ask you our second question, and I wonder if a part of it was answered already. But please say it again and add more to it. We wanted to ask if you see art as having the ability to change people's minds and hearts on issues. And one of the issues would be acceptance, for example, of the LGBTQ plus community. And if you see it as being able to impact people, how do you think it has that impact? In what way? You touched on it a little bit, I feel.
All right.
But
well, yes.
Expand on it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like I let me put my mind together, because I think when we talk about acceptance or like understanding or more respect on that matter, I don't think with art, we're gonna be able to change how people think, but we can educate the people that already doesn't have anything against our community, so we can make them feel or try to hear a point of view, so they understand how the issue affect us. And I think that's how art will get into a consideration, like try to make this art and put our feelings out there, so people understand how our feelings, and they can understand how other issues affect us as a community, as artists. Like what I do, it's camp, and I don't think I'm gonna educate. I think I'm gonna put it more like in your face, but I think that's part of the art that I'm trying to make, because it also have to have an impact or a statement, and I think art should make people uncomfortable and have to make you think. And I think when make you think, I'm not gonna make you think if I say like like in a nice way. Sometimes I say like in a very loud, gay, sissy way. And I think that's the way that you're gonna hear my voice, because that's the voice that I found, and that's my voice. So that's my way of telling things. So I think art can change the mind of people that one wants to deal with the issue, but I don't think it's gonna change that many minds. Or maybe I'm wrong and it does. Hopefully it does. But I think we have, but we as an artist, we have a responsibility to talk about the issues that affects our part of our community. Right? We have a very valid point of view. Like we have a very loud voice, and we have to use that voice, and we have to make a mark on the artwork. Like we have to bring the LGBTQ plus and say like as many said, like we're here. This is how we talk. This is what we put on it, because we also have a voice. We're part of a community that sometimes people is super curious what we have to say, or either they love how we said it, or so why don't we use this voice and try to spread that message, whatever we want to say about the issue that we want to say.
Well, I have to say, I love the way you said that. I love the way you explained that. And I think that what I hear you saying is that maybe people who are neutral but uneducated, you might be able to educate about some of the beauties of this beautiful community. I think we all know we're not going to reach the haters. And I like to think that there really aren't as many haters. They're just loud. There are a lot of neutral, uneducated people. So I love the way you said that. And I think, and that art is here not to just be kind of status quo, but to make people think and shake them up a little bit. So I love what you said.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I don't know if you want to, any other comment or any other thought you have that you want to add before we end the interview?
Oh no, I just want to thank you for letting me express this opinion, because these are things that we as an artist, like we think about it when we are like painting and all this, but we not all the time when we're on an art show or something that we have the opportunity to talk about this, because it's a very strong point of view. And thank you for opening this platform for me to express how, as an artist, I'm a proud LGBTQ plus artist, and how I spray my message always through the way of art and love, which is the most important thing.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're so glad that you were here, and we will be hearing about all of this during Pride Month, June, which is Pride Month. We'll be hearing from the artists, and we're just very happy that you were able to come on. So thank you.
Thank you.